walking around in some kind of fog. I think we're all in a trance. People are talking in symbols. Everyone's sort of floating through this fog of symbols and unconscious feelings. Here's another person who's existing in a dream, taking us into a dream world.
Hello and welcome back to the Lucid Dreaming Podcast. This is episode 9. Let's get started with our usual follow-up. I've described in a previous episode a few episodes ago that I was wondering about false awakenings, whether it's possible to experience more than one in a row, and whether anybody has had that experience. And I saw in an interesting post on Reddit, and apparently not only is this a common enough occurrence that happened to a few people, but they report several of them in a row, multitudes, 5 or more even. So it's an interesting thing, and I'll link to it in the show notes. It's a fun little discussion that happened there, but I can't even imagine how it feels like to multiple times wake up thinking that you finally actually woke up, only to once again discover that you're still sleeping. That can be what a rude awakening, if you will. So I'll link to that. I thought it was a interesting little tidbit. You see, I ask a question and sometimes the answer just shows up sooner or later, and that's kind of fun. Before I go back to the follow-up on the last episode, I wanted to mention I saw on Twitter that Charlie Morley, whose book I'm reading and still highly recommend, just announced a new book that's going to come out in September, basically titled A Beginner's Guide to Lucid Dreaming. So I guess maybe perhaps he's formulating another book with more of a beginner's guide, more specifically than the one he currently has. So that's interesting, and look forward to seeing when that one comes out. I can bet that it'll be good, or as good as the first one, if not better. Follow up on the last episode, our paranormal activities. One, as I mentioned, of course, I forgot to specify some other occurrences and things like talking or meeting dead people, dead relatives and so on. When I mentioned that activity in particular as part of listing, possible activities, I was more mentioning it in a sense of, creating the experience of talking to dead relatives, not actually talking to dead relatives, but that is something that people believe is possible to do. And so that's another one I forgot to mention. And of course, astral projection, which I've seen various definitions of what that is, but I think it's a sort of combination of out-of-body experience and traveling in other dimensions or other levels or realms of consciousness. And I won't go into that because I honestly don't know enough about it, but it's another one of those things that some people connect in some cases to lucid dreaming. So those are a couple more examples I just wanted to give. Talking to dead people, I don't know. Again, it requires the belief that not only, do we stay on in some format after we die, which I can understand the concept. If we are consciousness or if there is a soul, spirit, and so on, maybe something moves. But for people who believe, let's say, in reincarnation, then whatever transmigrates to the next incarnation moves on to a next body, which will have a new identity, a new psyche and personality. So it won't really be the same person. So whatever, if anything stays, whatever stays, perhaps is not something you can talk to in the same way that you spoke to the person. But again, this is so out of the realm of of what we can easily prove or test, or we can postulate about it. We can, if somebody has an experience, then for that person it will be hard to argue with themselves and their experience, but it's also hard to tell. I did mention in the Lapse episode Dr. Rory McSweeney and his mutual dream experiment, which I've chatted with him a bit on Twitter, and it looks, the more I look into it, it's very cool, and he created a nice new trailer for the experiment, so I'll post that, and I recommend you check it out. I love the approach. I really it seems like it is just that, an experiment, and trying to see, is this possible? If so, how do we do it? How can we prove it? What can we learn from the experiment? And I do believe that the more people participate in something like this, the more we might actually get out of it. The more case studies we might have to look into and say, okay, is this real? Can this work? Can we do it? And how? So kudos to you, McSweeney. I think it's a very good approach, and I think it's very interesting. So I'm definitely gonna jump in, and I'm gonna post the new video in the show notes, so everybody can take a look at that. It's very, very cool. There are a couple of things I wanted to mention before I forget. One of them is probably, this is the last opportunity I get to mention it. I'll get to that in a second. The first one is, I wrote a little blog post basically listing all the main movies about lucid dreaming, and it's almost complete. In one sense, I didn't put a lot of the short films and some of the documentaries, because I found them, but I haven't watched all of them, so I wasn't quite sure if all of them sort of fit the list, but perhaps they do, and I'll link to it. And if I missed any big, if there's any big glaring misses or something that I forgot, if you know about a movie, let me know, put it in the comments or something, and I'll add it to the list, and I'll keep this list updated as much as I can. So this will always be sort of, I'm trying to build the ultimate list for lucid dreaming movies, and maybe even TV shows. I know there's a couple of web series people creating, so that's kind of cool, and I want to expand it more and more. So let me know if you think some of the other little short films and things should fit in there. The second thing I wanted to mention is the Lucidity Festival, which is basically sort of an arts and music festival, but also with a big leaning on transformation of consciousness and just a transformative sort of experience. They have all sorts of workshops like meditation and yoga, and I believe also various sort of mini lectures and people coming to speak about all sorts of subjects, I believe including lucid dreaming. I think that the iWinks guys are going to be there, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, there's lots of music. It's a sort of 3-day camping music and art event. And it seems very, very cool. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend it despite wanting to go and check it out. It's in April 11th, and it's in somewhere in Southern California. I'll pull a link in the show notes, and you can check it out. It looks very, very interesting. If this is your sort of thing, if you are anywhere near here and want to check it out, take a look. It seems very cool. So I think that's good follow-up, and I wanted to move into the subject for this evening. And after several emails, a continuation of my conversation with Shelley, as well as a conversation, an email I got from Justin from Slovakia. Thank you for writing in. First of all, I loved your email. It was so awesome to read, and I love your enthusiasm with the process too. It sounds like you're jumping deep into it. So I wanted to address your email also, in particular, in what the questions you've asked me So your questions are absolutely fine and make perfect sense, and they all touch, just like Shelley, about sort of the particulars of practice of lucid dreaming, and in more specific, the practice of writing a dream journal and increasing dream recall, and how that connects to achieving lucidity. So this is even coincidentally, this is a great time for this email, because I think I threw it out there somewhere in, not the last episode but the one before it, about a new theory that I have in regards to dream recall. So I've tried to take some more time and formulate it in my mind, at least what the theory is, but it's hard to sort of put together. So I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna try to do a stream of consciousness kind of thing, and try to formulate it as I speak about it, because I didn't really have a chance to talk about it with anybody, and I think that I put together my thoughts better when I speak about these subjects. It's the philosopher in me, perhaps. So bear with me as I try to make sense of this theory. But, and again, it is a theory, but the more I practice lucid dreaming, the more I dig deep into this, the more I understand and observe my own experience, as well as read studies and things like that, the more this theory of mine seems to become relevant and to seem to make sense, at least to me. So I would love to hear what you think. And here it goes. Let's put it together. I think that the notion that dream recall is necessary for lucid dreaming is a misconception. And don't get me wrong, I do believe you need to write a dream journal, and I'll tell you why. But I think, you know how people say, I've read it in so many beginner's guides, people say the first thing you have to do is increase your dream recall, because if you can't remember your dreams, what if you become lucid? You won't even remember that. That makes no sense to me. That doesn't sound right at all. I find it very, very hard to imagine, and I've definitely never had such an experience where I've had a lucid dream and forgot it. Now, you might say, okay, maybe if you forgot it, maybe you don't even know that you had that lucid dream and forgot it. Well, then you tell me if you've ever had the experience of not remembering having a lucid dream and suddenly remembering it. Because if I have a lucid dream, I either, one, wake up from that lucid dream while being lucid, and every single lucid dream I've had such an impact on the way I feel and my thoughts and my memory and my feeling that, when I wake up from it, it registers so strongly. I mean, it's almost hard to escape. The only exception that I can think of is if, lucidity is very faint. When I have a low level of lucidity, then, I might lose lucidity and not wake up from the dream. So I become lucid, and then I continue to engage in the dream and lose lucidity. But even then, it leaves, just the fact that I became lucid always makes me so happy, every single time. And it really leaves a mark in my memory. So unless you tell me otherwise, and I'll believe you if any of you have had this happen to you, where you actually became lucid and totally forgot it, and suddenly later on in the day or at some point, remember it, basically proving you that you had a lucid dream and didn't even remember until a certain point. I don't think that almost, I find it very hard that it will happen. Unless you're one of those natural lucid dreamers where every single night you have multiple lucid dreams, and it's so common that you forget it. I don't know. I find it hard to imagine. I think the people who are natural lucid dreamers are also people who naturally have high dream recall. And this connects back to my theory. So I don't think that dream recall is what is necessary, is the basic component of having a lucid dream. Or let me phrase it differently. I don't believe that writing down your dreams, that increasing dream recall is the reason to write down your dreams in order to have better recall, and then in order to, remember the dream that you had when you became lucid. I believe that writing a dream journal, it increases your dream recall, is a side effect. It is not the purpose or the main cause. I believe that an increased dream recall is a side effect of writing down your dreams and creating a dream journal. And here's why. I think it's more about dream awareness, that you're putting attention towards your dreams and towards the content of your dreams. And you're increasing your dream awareness after the fact. Yes, when you write a dream journal, you're doing that after the fact, but you're doing it at the moment where you're closest to the dream, where your brainwaves are still at a different frequency, when your mind and your awareness and your consciousness and your mindset just woke up from the dream. And it's not just the fact that your memories are fresh, but your state of consciousness is in a different place. From the feeling of it, where you're still sort of drowsy in sort of fuzzy dream space, all the way to the fact that your brainwaves indicate that you're in a different state of mind. So you're cultivating and increasing dream awareness. And I believe that dream awareness, whatever exactly that might be, that is the prerequisite, and that is the requirement, that which is necessary but not sufficient to have lucidity. And to have, I think that when you increase your dream awareness, after a certain point, there's a sort of tipping point in which that dream awareness is so high that it moves into lucidity. It merges between dream awareness and dream consciousness, and then waking consciousness, aware consciousness, self-aware, self-reflecting consciousness, where you're, not just running around like a zombie, but you're consciously aware of the fact that you're running around and living life, or running around in a dream. So I hope that makes sense. What I'm saying is that I believe that the fact that you're increasing your dream awareness by looking into the content of your dreams, or paying attention to your dreams at the moment where you still can more easily, I think that increases dream awareness, which, as a side effect of that, also increases dream recall. Because the more aware of your dreams, consciously aware of your dreams you are, the more of them you'll remember. And the only time you get to remember them is, in the morning, or when you wake up from them. But when you do write down your dreams, and when you do remember your dreams, they stay in as sort of hardwired memories. They stay in, and you remember them for the rest of the day, and sometimes for the rest of your life. I'm telling you, I remember every single one of my lucid dreams. I might not think about all of them all the time, or might not quickly, recollect any of them, because there have been many at this point. But when I start thinking about them, or if I go back to my dream journals and find the ones that I've been lucid and start reading, I remember them right away. They stick in my memory. And some dreams that I have not been lucid in have also stayed very firmly in my memory, because I wrote them down, or they just had like a strong feeling attached to them. And the more attention I put to my dreams, the more of them I remember just in the long term. So the way it connects to dream journaling, and the way it connects to, I wanted to do a sort of, not back to basics, but from the various questions and emails I get, I understand that there is a core of lucid dreaming practice that is important. And I always pointed it out as, write a dream journal, start from a dream journal. But I think that I want to connect this theory and this aspect of the practice to another thing, and that is, if you want to put time in a lucid dreaming practice and you have limited time, most of us have limited time when we're trying to do this. And this is a tricky thing. It's a lot of it, a lot of the practice and various techniques, you have to wake yourself up in the middle of sleep. You have to spend time in the morning writing down. You have to spend time at night before you go to sleep, trying to cultivate a dream or the mindset for lucid dreaming and so on. It's problematic because there's also so many things that you can do. And any book you read, any comprehensive book you read, you see so many techniques and so many aspects. So you're doing dream journals and reality checks and induction techniques and mindsets and mantras, and there's so many things. And very few, if almost any of us, have the time. Even me, I barely have the time to record this podcast, which I love and look forward to do. So very few of us have the time to do all of these things. And I don't even think that we should do all of these things sort of all at once. And again, if I would recommend something to do, it would be writing down a dream journal. Now, since we understand that we have limited time, I wanted to recommend doing it in a very specific way. And that might be actually different from person to person. So I'm going to set the stage for this and give the overview, and you'll have to see how it works for you. And I think that this will make sense. So here's the method I'm suggesting, and how it connects to the theory of cultivating dream awareness and why it's so crucial. I don't know exactly the mechanism behind it. I don't know the scientific theory of why that is, but I have a strong inclination, again, from my experiences, from other people's experience, and from some studies and research, that this is a crucial component. So as I was saying, many of us sort of jump in headfirst with all these various things, and it often kind of messes up the process of trying to achieve lucidity. In some ways, sort of obsessing over lucid dreaming can help bring it about. But sometimes if you're excited or really trying and wanting to lucid dream, sometimes it gets hard to sleep, or it's harder to fall back asleep if you're waking yourself up in order to try, to fall back asleep consciously right into a dream, for example. So I can often have, when I try that, sometimes I have a hard time falling back asleep just because I'm thinking about it so much. The same with everything else. You do so much and you think about it so much that something in your awareness and your consciousness is kind of anxious, it's agitated, and it's not relaxed. So I believe that if you're starting out, at least if you consider yourself a beginner, if you're starting out, or your dream awareness and dream recall are not high, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get rid of all other induction methods and techniques and all of that, even the reality checks. Do only the following. Only write down your dreams, and here's how you do that. Write down not the minimum amount, but do a test. If you have time to write down your dreams, write down until you feel like you just either don't have time, or you're just tired. Because I know that when I write down my dreams on a regular basis, and I manage to do it, and I don't forget or miss or skip writing down my dreams, then again, dream awareness increases, dream recall increases, and I find myself writing up to 7 dreams or more sometimes every morning, and that gets a long time. I know, Justin, you wrote it gets to like 45 minutes just writing down everything, which is fantastic because it means that there's a lot to write down. But I mean, it really, who has the time for that in the morning? It's kind of crazy. So I want you to write up to the point where it is, still feasible. So I give this the correlation of an example for people who want to meditate but don't find that they have the time or energy. People starting out, like even just doing 20 minutes a day is, it's hard sometimes to do. And the recommendation I've heard before from meditation teachers in some cases is to do, like, limit yourself to a certain amount of time. Let's say only 5 minutes. Hell, even only 1 minute. If you look for the amount of time or the amount of effort that that you'll do on a regular basis. Give yourself a small amount as you need to guarantee that you will have no problem doing that consistently. If that means writing down 3 sentences of general big concepts from your dream, or any big specific sort of take from the dream or memory or something, do just that. Hell, write even 1 sentence if you believe that you can keep up with a 1 sentence practice per morning. I'd rather you do something consistently than do as much as you can, but because it's so overwhelming and exhausting and who the hell has the time, you'll skip several mornings, or you won't keep up with the practice, and you'll just like fizzle away and just give up, or just be lazy about it, quote, so to speak. I don't mean to say actually being lazy, but the feeling. It's like, I don't have the energy for that this morning, or I woke up late, and so on and so forth. So find the time that for you, the amount of time or the amount of effort or some kind of measurement that for you, it will be amount that this I can do. So for a long time that I've been meditating, my practice was supposed to be 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. And in the evening, I was always too tired, and I wouldn't do it every night. And sometimes in the morning, it was hectic mornings, getting up, getting ready for work, and so on, and I wouldn't do it all the time. And I've skipped so many meditations because of that. And at some point, I realized that, after talking to some people, I've realized that it's better to do a consistent but small or short practice than doing one that's inconsistent, but I'm supposed to do 20 minutes or 40 minutes total a day, but just can't keep up with such a practice because for whatever reason. Start small and work your way up. And I as silly as that sound, I said, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes every day, but I'm going to do it every day. And 5 minutes I can do, it's not a lot of time. So I'm suggesting you do the same. Write down as much as you can. Write down the things that seem the most important. If on some days you're on a roll and you feel like writing more, go for it. Now, if you want to try what I've done with recording your dreams in voice, where I use one of the apps and either transcribe or just voice record the dreams, go for it. Give it a try. It might work for you. I've realized that there's 2 issues. One, in the morning, I definitely can speak faster than I can write or type, so that's a big advantage. However, I often can't seem to formulate the description of what I'm trying to describe about the dream as well in voice than I can in writing. At least not in a coherent way. I'm not sure quite why. Maybe when you just wake up, your cognitive functions work a little differently, and you're not as easily formulating thoughts for speech as you are for writing. Who knows? I'm not quite sure. So I find myself recording my voice, stopping, and then writing something, and then continuing in voice, where I think maybe just writing down might be easier. So I don't know that one method is better than the other, but I believe that for each one, try it and see what works for you, and go with that, or do what's easiest for you, what you can do very easily. If you have other people around you and maybe you can't wake them up, so you can't record a voice and speak, but maybe you wake up at the same time as your significant other or whoever, and you can practice by telling them the dreams that you've had, if you don't mind doing that. So that kind of connects to the other point. I don't think you particularly have to write down your dreams, but you have to pay attention to them. You have to give them focus and attention to connect your waking consciousness, your waking awareness into your dream awareness. And that will increase your awareness of your dream consciousness, if that makes any sense. So I think that writing down your dreams, I think that thinking about your dreams or telling your dreams to someone or anything like that, at the minimum amount on a regular basis, will do the trick. And I believe that is a prerequisite almost for lucid dreaming. Now, of course, it's not, I don't think it's a must in that sense where, if you already have strong dream awareness, just thinking about your dreams when you wake up might work for you. For others, maybe not. People who, drink a lot of coffee, like me, people who don't sleep very well, or have any other issues where something messes with their memory. Some people are on particular medications that either help or make it worse in terms of not just memory, but dream awareness, being able to sort of be conscious in your dreams in general and remember them in the morning. Again, I think the memory is a sort of secondary side effect of it. So, some people use dreams for dream analysis for psychotherapy. I think that has a tremendous effect. So, most people write down their dreams in order to then go to their therapist and share the dream. But some people, just because were given the request to come back with a dream so they can analyze it, whether they write it or not, they suddenly pay attention to the fact that they're dreaming and what the content of their dreams are, and then they come and they analyze it. They, break it down. They talk about it with a therapist or with someone, and again, they start paying attention and giving focus to their dreams. And I think that's what increases dream awareness. And I really think part of my theory is that dream awareness, again, it's not just that it's the prerequisite for lucid dreaming. I think lucid dreaming is a point on that scale. So as dream awareness increases, I think it passes a threshold that just crosses over to lucidity. I think it's a point on the spectrum. And I think that's why there is that experience of levels of lucidity once you achieve lucidity. There's a point where there's just a barrier that you pass where consciousness sort of becomes self-aware, so to speak, where your awareness of the fact that you're aware kicks in, right? And beyond that point, you continue to go up the scale, and from a sort of low level of lucidity, low level of self-conscious awareness, it goes up and high and high and higher. And that makes a lot more sense to me when I look at it, instead of, several different components as dream recall, which is only in retrospect. Dream recall and memory is just looking back. Dream awareness is in the moment at the time it's happening. And that's why I think the dream recall is a secondary component. It's remembering the awareness that you have, the awareness of what you were experiencing after the fact. But when you have more awareness and you experience and remember more, you will later remember it more because you had more awareness. It's not that your memory is just better. That's part of it, but it's not the only thing. I think you don't have memory of it because at the time you weren't all that consciously aware of what was happening or what your experience was. So again, to encapsulate it, basically, I think that the attention you give to your dreams increases your dream awareness, and at some point it just crosses over to lucidity. And that's why when you first, think about lucidity or start dealing with it, many people, and not always, and I believe, Justin, you said that the same thing happened to you. You hear it for the first time and you think about it, and something clicks in there, and off it happens. So forget any other technique for the moment. If you're struggling, if you're not sure, if you don't have very strong dream recall, which indicates that you may not have very strong dream awareness, throw out everything else and just try this for, I want to say 6 weeks, but I mean, minimum of 4. Give me 4 weeks where every single day you just do any form of looking at your dreams. I say writing them down helps because that has other benefits later for, dream signs and the rest of it. And also maybe, people claim that writing down something causes some process in the brain to, connect. I think you're creating better neural pathways of, from memory to conscious awareness. Maybe. I'm not sure how it works. But I do recommend writing down, but writing down only up to a point that you feel, I can do this every morning. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you have. 1 sentence, 5 sentences, big plot points of the dreams, something. And I think that more than anything else will have the most effect. So take a practice that's sustainable, that you can sustain on a regular basis, and you do it in 2 ways. Remove everything that's not a core basic practice. In this case, my recommendation, you don't have to follow it, is only doing dream journaling or dream awareness, basically. And even that one, reduce it to a level that is sustainable, that you can do on a regular basis, whatever that may be for you. And try it out, just test it out, or just write down your dreams every morning until you're like, all right, I have enough. I had enough of this. And then when you go out, heading out for work or wherever you do, keep thinking about it. You don't have to write down the rest, but you just, run it through your mind, see if you can recall as many details as you can. And then maybe in the middle of the day, do another little exercise, think about that dream, what you started writing, see if you can recall all the details that you've written down or that you thought about when you left the house, and see if you can remember more. That's what I want you to do. It's not always about just sitting down and writing everything, but it is pointing your focus and attention to your dreams. All right, enough of that. But hopefully that makes sense. And the more I formulate this little theory of mine, and I'm actually scouring the internet for research about how dream recall works, and if there's been any studies about why writing down your dreams increases your dream recall, which again, I think is just a side effect, but it's the most obvious side effects that people think it's the effect. I think that's why people think that writing down your dreams equals increases your dream recall. I think writing down your dreams increases dream awareness, which happens to increase dream recall. That's my theory, basically. And I think that is the core component for achieving lucidity sooner or later. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that made sense to you. If you have any feedback, I'm always here, and you can catch me on Twitter at @TheLucidSage, or write me an email, contact@lucidsage.com, with any questions, feedbacks, comments. Justin, I hope I answered your question, and Shelly as well, and anybody else who might be wondering. I will swear by it. I think this is the most powerful technique that you can cultivate, and the best sort of practice and habit for lucid dreaming, because sooner or later it takes time to achieve it, especially on a regular basis. People just hope, and believe me, I've been there too, just hope that, if they sort of just fire at every direction, throw everything they can against the wall, and something will hopefully stick. And sometimes it works, but just sporadically, like you just sort of manage to somehow accidentally fire off some place in the brain that achieves lucidity. But if you want lucid dreamings on regular basis, increase your dream awareness and do that by using a regular daily practice. The smallest that you can, I don't care, as long as it's on a consistent basis. And believe me, give this 4 weeks, 6 weeks, hell, give me 2 months and see what happens. Just give it a try and experiment. You're gonna go to sleep every day and wake up every day for 2 months anyway. Hopefully, if nothing goes wrong, of course. So why not just add that and see what happens? Throw away everything else. Just give it a try. I'm gonna do it right along with you. I'm gonna, for the next 2 months, well, since I'm doing so much research and other kind of tests and experiments, maybe I can't do it, but I'm gonna at least do that consistently for the morning practices. I'm gonna just write down a certain amount and do it consistently, because I've been slacking off too, and that's not good. So it's a great reminder for myself as well. So once again, really thank you all for tuning in and listening.